bothered with him.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the 2024 Sony Marvel film Kraven the Hunter. The film is directed by J.C. Chandor and it stars Aaron Taylor-Johnson, Ariana DeBose, Fred Heshinger, Alexandra Nivola, Christopher Abbott and Russell Crowe. Right, this is the origin story, I suppose, of Kraven, played by Aaron Taylor-Johnson. We get to see him as a child. He is one of the sons of a prominent Russian gangster, played by Russell Crowe, Nikolai Kravenov. And he's got a brother, Dmitri, who is a bit more timid than him. We see Sergei Kraven involved in a hunting accident and almost dies. He is saved essentially by a young girl called Calypso that's given some magic potion that she puts in his system that saves him and gives him the power of nature, I suppose. You know, he's got the instincts of an animal. He's got increased strength, increased senses, so on and so forth. He grows up, leaves his father, and decides that he's going to travel the world and take down the evil within it, mainly those that are harming animals in nature and that kind of stuff. He then stumbles across a plot of someone who is trying to take down his father, kidnaps his brother, so he has to kind of track them down in order to save his brother and family. Right, I think that's it. What are my thoughts on Kraven the Hunter? Well, this one is, I don't know, it's a bit more complicated than It's a Terrible Film, which is what you're getting everywhere else, pretty much. Everywhere you're looking, it's a terrible film, it's a terrible film, it's a terrible film. I'm not here to tell you that I think this is a good film, because I don't. I think it's seriously flawed in many ways. But I think this film is, as soon as it was linked to this Sony Marvel cinematic universe that they, put together some years ago with supervillains, and the only one that really have worked are the Venom ones, and even they've been critically mauled, but they've been successful financially. Everything else they've tried, Morbius, and earlier this year, Madam Web, they've all been box office failures and critical disasters. And this is another one. It's going to flop massively, and it is being critically mauled by pretty much everyone. So I think that the biggest problem with this film is the fact that it's part of that Sony universe. It was doomed before it was ever released, basically, in my opinion, this. And I think the sad thing is there is a film in here somewhere, because I think the action is done very, very well. I think the physical performance by Aaron Taylor-Johnson is, excellent, really, really good. Even if his acting performance, while I wouldn't describe it as bad, it's confused. It's by somebody that doesn't know how to be Kraven. Kraven, if you know anything about Kraven from the comics, and I was a big fan of Kraven, he was right up there with my favourite Spider-Man villains when I was a kid growing up. I love the fact that, there was this hunter that just went around the world hunting things, and he targeted Spider-Man as the next prey, sort of thing. I thought it was a cool idea. And even in the game Spider-Man 2, the way Kraven was portrayed in that game was, I thought, really quite good. And I just think they've missed the bullseye big time on finding the essence of Kraven. They've tried to really turn him into a heroic character in this film, and Kraven is far from that. Is really self-obsessed with the biggest ego on the planet, and you never really get the impression from this performance by Aaron Taylor-Johnson that he is that Kraven. Okay, he's a younger version of Kraven. You could argue there's aspects of the character in there that could be developed, but we're never going to get a chance to see that. And I just think they needed to nail it straight out who Kraven was, and I think they wasted too much time on, if I'm honest, the origins of Kraven, and they weren't that interesting, to be honest. The origins of Kraven. So I think we needed to see a fully developed Kraven that had been out in the world for a number of years and possibly played by an older actor, slightly older actor, another 10 years on Aaron Taylor Johnson maybe, and maybe see some flashbacks of him, how he became Kraven, the odd flashback here and there. So I think they missed the mark here. They didn't get the essence of the character Kraven, even though the action, I think, was done very, very well, and it was a great physical performance. And they tried to give us a brutal and bloody film. It is quite violent as well, which I enjoyed. It wasn't tamed down for audiences. It is actually quite violent for a film like this, which again I thought was good. So that side of the film I thought was absolutely fine. The other side of the film, the things that I found that I really struggled with at times was the script isn't very good. Again, I think it's been written by people that just don't understand this character and this setting and universe. They've tried to ground it in reality to some degree, and I don't think you can do that with some of these characters. Accept the fact that they're living in this, alternate, this comic universe, and just roll with it. And we never really get that. This whole magic potion bollocks. This Calypso character, who essentially I have no idea why she was in the film or what she was doing in it. She had nothing to offer the character other than, as a child, to give Kraven this super potion. I mean, it was such lazy writing, really. He gets mauled in a hunting accident. This girl happens across his, by that point, corpse, and decides she's going to give him this potion. It is proper lazy writing, in my opinion. And the film has got like a really obvious double cross in the film. And it was an infant could figure it out. I thought Russell Crowe was decent in the film as Nikolai with his over-the-top Russian accent. I would have liked to have maybe seen a bit more from him in the film, but he was okay. And then we come to Rhino, played by Alexandro Nivola, and I'm split as to my thoughts on Rhino. I mean, the whole film kind of builds up to you getting this reveal of Rhino. And when it finally arrives, it's hit and miss. Some of the CGI is questionable, and it just didn't deliver this final confrontation, if you like, between Rhino and Kraven. Certainly not in my opinion, anyway. So I think this film had things going for it, and I think this film's had flaws as well. I do think there is a film in here somewhere that I think is weighed down by its commitments to, Marvel and this Sony universe they've been trying to put together for years that we already know was doomed before this film even came out. It's done for. There is no more of these Sony Marvel films that focus on supervillains. They buggered it up basically. So this film was doomed. I think this film probably would have been better, probably sent straight to streaming, if I'm honest. I think people probably would have been a bit kinder to it because it's free to watch. Because essentially there is, like I say, there is a watchable film in here somewhere that you can forgive some of its failures for, especially if you're not paying like 10 quid and then another 10 quid to get snacks and go and sit in a cinema seat and watch a film and then come out of it, and then you're with your mates and you're all saying, well, that was shit, wasn't it? Because it's a different environment if you're watching it on stream, and I think you sometimes accept a film for what it is and kind of be a bit more lenient on its failures. So yeah, it's a shame. I'm disappointed with this one because I do really enjoy Kraven as a character. And I think they've absolutely missed the point of the character in this film. But as a standalone film, if you like, if this was just like a standalone film and it had nothing to do with Kraven or Marvel, it probably would have been a little bit better received. I think it's been weighed down by this whole Sony Marvel universe thing, which completely and utterly doomed it. It was dead on arrival, really, this film. So yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments, guys. If you've seen Kraven, what your thoughts are on it, and I will of course be back with plenty more reviews and content on the channel very, very soon.